So if you're not familiar with any of this yet, you don't know me, I'm RJ. I teach Tai Chi and Qigong at Metta Wellness in Paxton, Mass. And this lovely woman, she's the founder and owner of Metta Wellness. So she's going to say a couple things about that.
All right. And Metta Wellness is located in Paxton, Mass. And we've been doing a lot of live or online videos to help people through this time. And we're going to be doing a lot more of our online videos to help with our clients, so you guys can watch us live from here. And here we are again in my backyard. Everybody's seen the backyard a couple of times on my Instagram. So we're going to do some 8 Brochades Qigong today.
Qigong. You might hear some chickens in the background, so all is good.
All right. So go ahead. We'll follow you.
All right. So before we get into the actual exercise, the Qigong part, we're just going to warm up the body, and that'll give me a chance to basically talk about Qigong a little bit.
All right.
So we'll just start by opening, closing the hands, making a light fist. So for those not familiar, Qigong, there are basically 3 reasons to practice Qigong. One is for your health, one is for martial arts, and the third is for a spiritual practice. This Qigong we're going to do today is a combination of really all 3. It's going to strengthen the body, keep us healthy, young. Let's change movements by moving the arms and let the wrist just kind of move back and forth. The 8 Brochades that we're doing today is very popular among martial artists as well as healthy oriented. So from here, we can just bend at the elbows, up and down. We're just loosening up, lubricating the joints, warming up the body. And these stretches we're going to go through is actually a short version of what we do in Tai Chi class. And they're not really required to do all these stretches before doing the actual Qigong. So you can think about that. You can just go right into the Qigong. So from here, we can just stretch back and forth, moving the shoulders.
We'll also want to make note that any questions, we can take those at the end. That way we can run through the practice.
Now, if this exercise feels okay with the shoulders, some people have shoulder issues. If this feels okay, then we can try the next part where you keep your hands around the shoulders and just rotate at the shoulder joints. Go in one direction. And then we'll go in the other direction. So I want you to keep in mind as we go through the 8 Brochades, and this applies to any exercise program, it even applies to me. You need to check in with your body every day. Before you do your exercise, especially as you get older, the body changes from day to day, and you need to look at the body and how does it feel today before stretching to the extreme. So you really want to listen to the body when you're going through these exercises. Some of you might have some joint issues from previous, so you really need to pay attention to that. So here we're going to do a little waist turning. So as I turn in this direction here, what I'm going to do is lift up on that back heel to take the weight off the knee, so we don't torque the knee. And just do a little waist turning. Then the next movement is we'll just place our feet somewhat together. Just rest your hands on the knees, so there's no weight here. and just move the knees forwards and backwards just to add some lubrication to the knee joints. So as I say, we're going to end the stretching here. We can get a little bit more involved. In fact, I have a stretching video, takes care of all that. You can look at that. So I thought before we actually get into doing the Qigong, I'm going to walk you through it. And I'm going to give you kind of different variations if you want to increase some of the intensity. But again, you need to listen to your body. If you have knee problems, maybe you don't want to go so low. And that happens on any particular day. So really check in with your body. Heather and I, we're very flexible. We've been doing stuff like this for a long time. So we might be able to go lower. But again, I check in with myself every day when I do this.
And I'm going to leave this part to you. So, all right. Enjoy.
All right, so I'm just going to walk you through each exercise. And I'm not really going to get into the medical side too much, explaining. This is something that if it interests you, you can just look it up online because it starts to get involved. Each exercise is geared to a specific part of the body. So now we're getting into Chinese medicine, and that's very involved. So you really want to do that research on your own. So the movements that I'll show you, as you look through YouTube videos, you're going to see different variations. And all of the same principles apply to each posture or each exercise. So even though some of them may appear to be different, they're still in the same principles applied. So our first exercise, want to take a comfortable stance, maybe shoulder width apart. And the first exercise, we're going to breathe in. And as we breathe in, we interlock the fingers somewhere around the chest or neck area. So we breathe in, stretching over the top of the head, and we can even look upwards at the hands. And then we'll exhale, bringing the hands down to the sides. So this will be our first movement. This movement, there isn't too many variations, so we're just going to stick with this one for today. So we breathe in, the fingers interlock. We can look up towards the hands, and then we exhale. We can add a little bit of body movement to this. So I'm going to exaggerate this. I'm going to bend a little bit lower so you have an idea what's going on. As I breathe in, my body rises up. And at this point, I can lock out all of the joints in my body, really giving a nice stretch. Now, as I breathe out, I let the knees relax. My whole body drops down. Again, this is an exaggeration. So you want a little bit of movement in the knees as well. So I'll do that once more. You can follow. We interlock the fingers, breathing in. And then we breathe out. So these 8 brocades, there are 8 movements, 8 exercises. And the repetitions, however many times that we do each exercise, is 8, anywhere around 8. Now you can do 8 on both sides, depending on the exercise. You can do 8 total. You'll see what as we go along. So this is called rising up to the heaven. Sometimes, again, there are many different names. Next movement is called drawing the bow, letting the arrow fly. So here, we want to take a wider stance, a little bit past the shoulders. And you want the toes to point out at a slight angle. So we're in kind of like a horse riding stance in martial arts terminology. If this is enough for you, if the knees if you have some knee issues, and this is okay, just stay right here. Don't go any further. The hand movements for this exercise, we cross the hands, making 2 fists. Now I'm going to look over my left shoulder, and I'm going to give you a side view here. So we cross the hands, I look over my left shoulder. My right hand is going to remain in a fist. My left hand is going to stretch out, kind of like in a letter L. And then I'm going to pull the bow, and I'll give you this angle here. I'm going to pull like a bow and arrow. I'm going to pull the bow, stretching both hands out, and I'm going to look over the top of this forward hand. Now, this is our first option. If you feel you don't have a lot of flexibility, then just stay in this stance here. If you're a little more flexible, your legs are a little bit stronger, or you're a little bit younger and you want to strengthen the legs more, then what we can do is as we get into this position here, before the hands stretch out, we can squat down as far as you want to go. Again, make sure that your knees are okay. So in this case, we would breathe in, I look to my left, and then I breathe out. And then as I rise up, I breathe in, the hands cross. Now I look over my right shoulder. My left hand makes the fist, and the other hand makes that letter L. And then I exhale. And then I would inhale, the hands cross in front of you, making 2 fists. Breathing in, and then breathing out. But again, if you just want to stay in this position, that's fine. Just make sure that your knees are okay. So that's our second exercise. The next one, we're going to breathe in, and then when the hands reach about mid-level, you want to revolve them. So one palm is facing down, and it doesn't matter which hand is which. The other palm is facing up. So we breathe in, the hands turn, and then we breathe out, pressing in opposite directions. Now what's important here is you don't tilt the body to one side. We want to keep the body straight and just stretch both hands up and down as though you're pressing 2 heavy objects. Trying to keep the hands flat to the ground, flat to the sky. So now we have to go to the other side. So we breathe in, and then at this point, we can start to breathe out, pressing. And this is the point I was talking about. If you want to do 8 of these movements on each side, totaling 16, or you can do an 8 total, just on each side. That would be up to you in the future. Today, we're just going to be doing 8 when we get into it, 8 total. So we breathe in, the hands turn, and we breathe out, separating heaven and earth. Sometimes they call this one. And then we breathe in, and then we breathe out. So that's our next movement. The next movement, going to take a little bit of wider stance, like we did before. The toe is pointing out in that direction. And here, we want the thumbs to face in back of us. So the hands are on the thighs, the thumbs facing back, rather than this way here. If you don't have a lot of flexibility, then this is our first way to go. So a lot of movement's going to happen in the waist. We're going to maintain this position with the legs. We're going to turn in this direction, and each direction, and our body's going to sway down, moving across the body, and then coming up. Sometimes this is called wag the tail, or I should say, move the head and shake the tail. So then we go to the other side. So we just pivot at the waist, go to the other side, and rise up. This is something you need to check in with your lower back. I've had back issues when I was younger. So, pay attention to the lower back. If you can't go so low, then just don't go low. Check in with yourself again. So we go from this side to this side. And the breathing pattern, we would take a breath in. As we exhale, we go down, breathing out. We come across the body, and we breathe in as we come up. So we breathe out, going down, come across the body, and breathe in. If you want a little bit more intensity on this, and I don't know what the majority of people, or I don't know what the numbers would be here. So in this case, my whole body is going to lean to one side. And you can see that I'm stretching this leg out. At the same time, this arm stretches out. This one's a little bit more complex. But you'll be able to watch this video, I'm told, later, so you can check that out later. So this arm is stretched out, this leg is stretched out, and you see both of these sides are bent. So the breathing pattern is the same thing. I breathe out. Now my whole body moves forward. I move across. Now we exchange. This side is stretched out, and these two sides are bent, the leg and the arm. And then I come up to this side. So then I turn to this side. I breathe out, go across the body, and breathe in as I come up. All right, we'll do that again. Breathing out. And then breathing in. So that's our next exercise. Next exercise, we want to have a shoulder width apart, comfortable stance, toes pointing forward. Sometimes this is called wise owl turns its head to eliminate fatigue. So here, we want to really stretch out the fingers. And I'm going to exaggerate this movement as well. We're going to roll the whole arm in and collapse the chest. Again, this is an exaggeration. We go in this direction here, keeping the body straight, but I'm collapsing everything, folding in. And then we're going to fold out, stretching back the other way, keeping the fingers stretched out. So as all of this is happening, when we stretch in the opposite direction, the head turns to one side. And it's important as we turn that we keep the head level, that we're not tilting the head as we turn. We're keeping the head level. So you might want to practice this in a mirror when you're by yourself. So we turn, the head's going to stay level. The breathing pattern here is we breathe in, and you can see how the movement is smaller now, but you might have the idea. We breathe in, breathe out, turning the head to one side. We breathe in, coming to the center, and then we breathe out, turning to the other side. Once again, we can breathe in, and then we would breathe out. One added note to this is as we turn the head as far as it can go, and then if you can, look out into the distance. In other words, don't look at the floor. If you have a wall behind you, well, you don't have too many options. But if you're outside, I want you to look into the distance. So we look, turn the head, and then we would come to the center, breathing in, and then breathing out, looking into the distance, coming back to the center. So that's our next movement. This, almost the last here, we're on number 5. Sometimes this is called climb the legs to heal the kidney. And in this case, I'm going to give you a side view for a moment. But we're going to be in a comfortable stance, about shoulder width apart, waist width apart, the toes pointing forward. And we're going to bend forward. And here, again, make sure your back is okay. You don't have to bend all the way down. If you can, that's great. Bending all the way down to the toes, that's fine. If you can only go up to here, that's fine too. When you go to your lowest position, actually, we're going to start from here. We start at the kidneys. We go down, and both hands are going to trace the back of the leg as we stretch forward. And again, if you can only go this far, that's fine. So we go down. The hands are going to circle around the toes, and then we come up the inside of the legs, up to the chest. So I'll give you this view here. We start at the kidneys. The hands trace the back of the legs, circle around the toes, come up the inside of the legs to the chest, and then we just continue back to the kidneys. So here, our breathing pattern is we breathe in. Now we breathe out as we go down. The hands circle. We breathe in, coming up to the kidneys, and then just continue. Breathe out. Circle around. And breathe in. Coming up here, back to the kidneys. Breathe out. And then breathe in. This one is called punching with angry gaze. And for some reason, people like that one, at least the name. So here, we have another stance, toes pointing forward. And we're going to be doing a punching pattern, but not like in martial arts where we're turning the whole weight to deliver a punch with some force. Here, we have a very light fist. And we're going to be moving the hand forward with that fist. And then we're going to draw it back to the side. And then the next hand goes forward, a very loose fist. And then we draw the hand back. So this is our movement. We can also add a little body movement to those. So again, if your knees are not doing so well today, then just have a slight bend in the knees and stay there. If you can add a little bit more movement, then from here, as we punch out, the body lowers down. And then we come up, bring the punch in, then we go to the other side. Punch out, and then we rise up. I want to give you a side view because you need to see that the body is going to remain tall the whole time, a nice straight back. So as we punch out, it's like we're sitting in a chair. Keep the body straight, draw the arm in, and then we go to the other side, punching out, and then we come up. So the breathing pattern for this is, you probably guessed, we start by breathing in, we breathe out as we punch forward, and then we breathe in, coming up. And then we breathe out, and then we breathe in. So again, we can breathe out, and then we can breathe in, and then we can breathe out, and breathe in. So that's going to be our motion for this. Again, if you want to add a little bit more torque to this, you can take a wider stance. And here, you'll see this in a lot of the Shaolin practices. Here, we're going to go low. Again, if your knees are okay, your back is okay, you go low, and you're going to stay in this position. Now, you have to check in with yourself because we do 8 of these. And in this position, we don't want to be punching very fast just to get it over with. So you have to have the leg strength, which can develop over time. So you can start a little bit high, and then as time goes on, go a little bit lower, and then a little bit lower. So here we would start the same thing. We would be in this position, breathing in, and then slowly breathe out with a nice loose fist. And then we pull it in, breathing in, and then breathe out. And then breathe in, pull it in, And this would continue very slowly, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and then breathing in. So that's really up to you if you want to add a little bit more resistance later on. Today's lesson, we're going to go using just basic movements, which will apply to everybody. Now, the last movement is to just quiet everything down. We move the energy, we quiet it down. So here, we're going to collapse the body. So the whole body just collapses like a rag doll and just relax. And then from here, we're going to roll the body up. In other words, I'm not going to hinge at the waist. I'm going to let one vertebrae at a time and let the body roll all the way up. When I get to this position, I'm going to come up. I get to this position, I can stretch out my arms, look up, and stretch back a little bit. So that's going to be our body movement. The breathing pattern here is we breathe out as we collapse the body. We breathe out. Now we breathe in. This is going to be a nice, slow, deep breath. I breathe in all the way to the top. And then as I come forward, I breathe out. And then once I breathe out, I come up on my toes and just let my body drop on the heels. So again, we breathe out, collapsing the body. Breathe in as you're coming up, rolling the body up, looking up, stretching the arms back a little bit. And then breathe out. And then we can come up on the toes and then just drop. If your back is okay, maybe the first couple exercises, you just want to stretch a little bit. But then the last few, what you can start to do at the end is you can actually stretch way, way back, giving more of a stretch. Again, checking with the back. I have to say that 100 times. So those are our movements for 8 Brochades Qigong. So now we'll actually start. We'll start at the beginning. I'll talk you through it. And again, we'll just do our basic movements. And for those of you that want a little bit more, you can watch the video and see how the more advanced part of some of these movements can apply to your life. So we'll start with a comfortable stance. The toes pointing forward, about waist height, width apart, shoulder width apart. And we're just going to take a moment, put our hands right below the belly button. So in Chinese martial arts, in Qigong, this is a very important energy center, the Danshan. This is where our energy is stored, called the Qi. Those of you new to Qi, it's what the acupuncturist uses. You go to the acupuncturist, they use needles to manipulate this energy in the body, this energy that we don't quite understand even after all these years. So place our hands on the Danshan. You can take a moment, close the eyes, and just relax for a moment. Breathing naturally. And just listening to our body, listening to the outside world. Okay, so you can open the eyes. So we'll start with our first movement. So we have a slight bend in the knees. We can first breathe out. Breathe in, interlocking the fingers, looking up to the sky or our hands. And breathe out. Breathe in. and breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And one more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Our next movement, take a little bit wider stance. Make sure that the toes are pointed at a slight angle. A little bit of a bend in the knees, and we're going to draw the bow, letting the arrow fly. So here, we'll look over the left shoulder. So we cross the hands, making two fists. The right hand keeps the fist. The left hand makes an L shape. I'm going to look over my left shoulder, looking over the top of my left hand. As I breathe in, now I breathe out. And then I breathe in, let the hands relax, cross in front. If you wish to do a little bit of a body movement, that's fine, but you don't have to. You can just stay in this position here. Look over the right shoulder. With the right hand, make that L shape. Keep a fist with the left hand, breathing in. Breathe out. Relax. Cross the hands. Look over to the left side. Breathe in. Breathe out. Relax the hands. To the other side. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last one. Breathe out. And then we can take a deep breath in. Bring our feet together. Next movement is we're separating heaven and earth. So remember, we breathe in, turn both palms, keep the body straight, and breathe out. Breathe in, exchange the hands, and breathe out. Breathe in and out. Breathing in and out. Change the hands. Breathing in, out. And then we can relax. So our next movement, again, we have a comfortable stance, toes pointing forward, about shoulder width apart, hips width apart. And wise owl turns its head to eliminate fatigue. We open up the fingers really wide. Remember, turning the body in, caving in. And then we're going to stretch out in the opposite direction. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, remember. Very slight movement. So we breathe in. Breathe out. Turn the head to one side. Breathing in to center. And breathe out. Looking off into the distance. We breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And come to the center. So I think I can mention now, all of these exercises, we can keep the mouth closed and breathe in and out through the nose. Maybe most of you are uncomfortable with that, so just breathe however you feel is comfortable. But traditionally, we breathe in and out through the nose. Next movement, we want a nice wide horse stance. Toes pointing at a slight angle, and our thumbs facing back of us as we rest our hands on our thighs. So here we look in one direction, breathe in, and breathe out as we move forward. Cross the body, breathe in, coming up to center. Turn to the other side, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Continue. And last time, breathe out, breathe in, coming up. Okay, and then if you need to, you can sort of walk your feet back in together. So next movement, you have the toes pointing forward. And here we're going to start on our kidneys. Remember, tracing the back of the legs, and then as we come up, we trace the inside of the legs. So we start taking the breath in, holding our hands around the kidneys. Breathe out, go as low as is comfortable, no further. Circling around, breathe in as we come up. Back to the kidneys. So from here, we've taken our breath in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Continue. And last time, breathe out, and breathe in. So our next movement is punching with angry gaze. So we have a hips width apart, shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward. We make two fists, a very light fist. And again, we're not going to turn the hips, we're just going to move the hands forwards and back. So we start by breathing in and breathe out, lowering the body a little bit. And then breathe in. If you just want to stay in this position without lowering and coming up, that's fine. So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, keeping the back straight. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Continue, please. And breathe in, coming up. So again, our last movement is we've moved this energy in our body. Now we want to settle it back here to the Dan Shen, where the energy is stored. So here, again, we're going to collapse our body like a rag doll. We just collapse everything, moving forward. However low you can go, that's fine. If you can only go up to here, that's fine. Collapse everything, relax. Breathing out. As we breathe in, we begin to roll the body up, one vertebrae at a time. You can look up, stretch out a little bit, and then relax and let the breath out. From here, we come up on our toes, and then just drop. Collapse forward. Breathe in as you come up, one vertebrae at a time. And then exhale. Come up on the toes and drop. Again, relax forward. Breathing out as you relax forward. Breathe in as you come up. And then breathe out. Coming up on the toes.